There are whispers in the quiet spaces of life, hushed truths about human nature that few ever truly grasp. Most people navigate their days like open books, their thoughts, desires, and vulnerabilities laid bare for all to see. They believe transparency is a virtue, that sharing everything fosters connection, or perhaps even strength. But this belief, while appearing noble on the surface, is often a profound and debilitating mistake. The Stoics understood something vital, a principle that echoes across millennia. There is immense power in silence, profound wisdom in holding back, and an unshakable strength in guarding certain aspects of your inner world. This isn't about fostering deception, nor is it about cultivating an air of detached secrecy. Rather, it's about strategic self-possession, about mastering the art of the unrevealed, recognizing that not all truth serves you best when openly broadcast. When you reveal too much, too soon, or to the wrong ears, you inadvertently surrender a piece of yourself, a vital element of your autonomy. You hand over leverage, invite unnecessary scrutiny that can derail your focus, or dilute the very energy and resolve required for your own growth and resilience. In essence, you become predictable, easily swayed by external forces, and dangerously vulnerable to the machinations or casual indifference of others. Imagine for a moment a formidable fortress, an unbreachable bastion designed to withstand any siege. Its strength lies not merely in the towering height of its visible walls, but critically in the parts that remain hidden from any enemy scout, the secret passages known only to a trusted few, the guarded supplies stored deep within its vaults, the intricate defense strategies known solely to the commander. Your inner life, your true self, is precisely such a fortress. What you consciously choose to keep private, to cultivate in silence, is its most vital and impenetrable defense. To speak less, to observe more, to cultivate a rich, disciplined inner world that is not constantly broadcast for public consumption, this is the time-honored path to true resilience, profound wisdom, and an enduring inner peace that remains undisturbed by the world's clamor. Today, we will embark on an exploration of 7 specific aspects of yourself. 7 crucial areas that, once revealed carelessly or prematurely, can profoundly diminish your personal power and significantly impede your journey towards self-mastery. Understanding why to deliberately hold these aspects back and how the disciplined practice of doing so transforms you into a more robust and self-sufficient individual is a cornerstone of true Stoic wisdom. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier, plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. The first hidden problem that many people fail to recognize, often to their detriment, is the subtle yet pervasive erosion of personal power that occurs when you prematurely reveal your deepest fears and most gnawing insecurities. We are often misled by a contemporary narrative that suggests by openly voicing these hidden anxieties, we will somehow diffuse their power, gain much-needed sympathy, or perhaps even magically discover a ready-made solution from an empathetic listener. Yet, the lived experience, and indeed Stoic philosophy, teaches us that what often happens is precisely the opposite, or at least a highly suboptimal outcome. When you lay bare your deepest vulnerabilities, whether it's the paralyzing fear of failure, an acute insecurity about your appearance, or the persistent self-doubt that relentlessly gnaws at your confidence, you are not simply engaging in a benign act of sharing. You are, often unknowingly, creating an open invitation for others to exploit those raw spots, or at best, to forever view you through the distorting, limiting lens of those very weaknesses. Consider the profound counsel of Epictetus, who consistently taught that our primary concern should be directed exclusively towards what lies within our control. Our fears, though they originate internally as a mental impression, can become externalized weapons in the hands of others when we choose to reveal them. An untrustworthy or manipulative person, upon learning your greatest fear, be it public humiliation, financial ruin, or loneliness, now possesses a potent lever, a point of psychological pressure they can subtly or overtly press if they ever wish to manipulate your decisions or actions. But even well-meaning friends, once privy to your deepest insecurities, might inadvertently begin to treat you differently. They might offer unsolicited, well-intentioned advice that, instead of empowering you, subtly reinforces the very weakness you are desperately trying to overcome. They may, with genuine but misguided concern, see the fear more clearly and prominently than they see your intrinsic potential for strength and resilience. The true, transformative work of overcoming fear is, at its core, an internal battle. It is a solitary and silent struggle, diligently waged within the sacred fortress of your own mind, away from the gaze and judgment of others. This profound work requires relentless self-confrontation, a rigorous and honest process of reasoning through your anxieties, and the consistent, unwavering application of fundamental Stoic principles such as the dichotomy of control. When you externalize these intensely personal battles by revealing their details to everyone you encounter, you risk dissipating the very concentrated energy and focus needed for this crucial internal work. You subtly shift the focus from your personal responsibility to conquer these fears to their potential response, their judgment, or their comforting words. This externalization doesn't make you inherently stronger. Paradoxically, it makes you more dependent on fleeting external validation for your sense of security and progress. Guarding these inner demons, these raw vulnerabilities, from casual revelation allows you the vital space and privacy to confront them directly in the quiet depths of your own thoughts, without the added, often counterproductive, pressure or complication of others' perceptions and unsolicited opinions. This disciplined silence is not avoidance. It is the first, most crucial step in reclaiming your inner sovereignty and forging true courage. But this silent struggle for self-mastery is all too often undermined by another common and seductive error. The second major misstep many people make, a pitfall that frequently keeps them stuck in a cycle of aspiration without true accomplishment, is the act of prematurely broadcasting their long-term goals and their grand, ambitious plans. We reside in a contemporary world that relentlessly celebrates the public announcement, the grand declaration, the public unveiling of intentions and future visions. There's an intoxicating, almost irresistible allure to sharing your ambitious vision for the future. Whether it concerns a significant career pivot, a major personal project of profound significance, or a life-altering change you envision. In sharing, we instinctively seek external validation, that reassuring pat on the back, or enthusiastic encouragement from our peers and mentors, believing, often mistakenly, that this external affirmation will somehow magically fuel our internal motivation. However, timeless Stoic wisdom, a philosophy grounded in observing human nature without illusion, echoed by insights from modern psychology, reveals a crucial and often overlooked flaw in this widely accepted approach. When you announce your goals too early, particularly those that are ambitious and require sustained effort, a peculiar and counterproductive psychological phenomenon tends to occur. Your brain often registers the act of speaking about the goal, the social affirmation received, as a partial fulfillment of the goal itself. The immediate dopamine hit you receive from others' approval, their congratulatory remarks, their expressions of admiration for your ambition, cunningly tricks your mind into believing you've already made significant progress. This sensation of achievement, undeserved and profoundly premature, subtly but significantly drains the real, gritty motivation, the internal fuel needed to actually do the hard, often unglamorous work that real accomplishment demands. Seneca, a master of practical philosophy, frequently spoke of the paramount importance of concrete action over mere words, and the absolute necessity of focusing intently on the present moment, on what is immediately within your power to accomplish and influence today. When you constantly cast your gaze towards the distant future and speak effusively of grand designs, you can inadvertently neglect the crucial, often mundane and unglamorous daily steps that are rigorously required to bridge the gap between aspiration and reality. Moreover, by prematurely revealing your grand plans, you unwittingly invite a deluge of unsolicited opinions, doubts, and even criticisms from others, which can easily plant insidious seeds of discouragement and uncertainty in your mind, even before you've taken the very first practical step. You open yourself to the subtly accusatory, "Why haven't you done it yet?" question from well-meaning but impatient observers, adding an unnecessary layer of external pressure that can, paradoxically, lead to paralysis and inaction. The Stoic path, therefore, is to keep your plans close, to cultivate them diligently in private, and to let your eventual results be the loud, undeniable declarations. The quiet, consistent commitment to focused action day after day, out of the public eye, is immeasurably more potent and effective than any premature public announcement. This internal, self-reliant focus is further strengthened and refined by a specific, often counterintuitive, Stoic habit. Having now thoroughly understood the perils of premature revelation, let us turn our attention to a profoundly powerful, yet rarely practiced, Stoic habit, the internalization of judgment and the deliberate cultivation of self-approval, especially concerning your good deeds and your acts of charity. In our modern age, profoundly saturated with the omnipresent influence of social media, where every positive action, every generous gesture, and every benevolent contribution is often meticulously documented, framed, and shared online, the impulse to seek external recognition and public applause for your virtues is undeniably stronger than ever. We yearn for the affirmation of likes, the validation of comments, and the fleeting satisfaction of public praise, mistakenly believing that these external affirmations genuinely validate our goodness and somehow reinforce our moral compass. However, the Stoics, with their characteristic emphasis on inner character and unshakable virtue, taught a radically different and far more enduring path. Marcus Aurelius, in his deeply introspective meditations, repeatedly emphasized that virtue, by its very nature, is its own intrinsic reward. He held a firm conviction that to perform a genuinely good deed and then immediately seek external praise or recognition for it is to inherently diminish the act itself. It taints the purity of the original intention, subtly transforming what could have been a truly selfless act into one fundamentally driven by ego, the desire for fleeting recognition, or even a transactional expectation of social currency. When you perform an act of kindness and immediately announce it, or subtly manipulate circumstances to seek admiration, you are not truly practicing virtue for its own sake. You are, in essence, performing for an audience, seeking external validation that cheapens the very essence of your goodness. The true, profound power of a good deed lies not in its publicity, but in its quiet, unassuming execution, its intrinsic moral value, and the deep, silent, unobserved satisfaction it brings to your own conscience alone. This vital Stoic habit calls for a profound and challenging shift in our internal orientation, moving decisively from an outward-facing desire for public applause to a deeply rooted, inward-facing sense of unwavering integrity and self-respect. Imagine the quiet strength derived from helping someone anonymously, or from diligently performing a demanding task with meticulous care, knowing full well that no one else will ever notice or praise your effort. The true Stoic finds profound, unshakable contentment and a deep sense of purpose in this unseen, unheralded effort. This practice is not about fostering secrecy for its own sake, but rather about rigorously ensuring that your motivations are pure, untainted by the fickle winds of public opinion or the ego's clamor for attention. When your good deeds are known only to you, perhaps the universe, and the direct recipient, they remain inviolable and untainted by the often superficial judgment of the crowd. This disciplined practice strengthens your inner resolve, making your virtue an unshakable, integral part of your character, rather than a transient performance dependent on external validation. It grounds your moral compass firmly in an enduring sense of self-respect and integrity, rather than in the ephemeral, unpredictable currents of public opinion. This disciplined approach to virtue, built on internal fortitude, is deeply connected to understanding the very fundamental reasons why we reveal anything at all, and to whom. To truly master the profound art of strategic silence and cultivate an unshakable inner resilience, we must deeply delve into the subtle yet powerful psychological mechanism that often compulsively drives us to reveal things we later, almost inevitably, regret. This mechanism is primarily fueled by the profound human desire for validation, for deep connection, and the often misguided belief that by revealing our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, or even our past indiscretions and vices, we will somehow magically foster deeper, more authentic bonds or, perhaps, achieve a liberating absolution from our perceived failings. This mechanism becomes particularly perilous and self-sabotaging when directed towards revealing personal weaknesses or past indiscretions to untrustworthy individuals or to those whose character you have not yet rigorously assessed. Humans are, at their core, inherently social creatures, imbued with a natural, fundamental inclination to seek understanding, acceptance, and a sense of belonging. We instinctively believe that by opening up, by bravely showing our imperfections, we become more relatable, more human, and thus more deserving of empathy and genuine connection. In healthy, mature, and reciprocal relationships, this vulnerability can indeed lead to profound intimacy and trust. However, the critical psychological trap lies in the alluring illusion of control that the act of revealing intimate details seems to offer us. We reveal a weakness, thinking we are taking a brave, empowering step towards deeper intimacy and mutual understanding, when in a harsh reality, we are often unknowingly handing over sensitive information that can be readily weaponized against us, either intentionally or through sheer negligence. Here, we must again bring to mind the fundamental Stoic emphasis on discerning with acute precision what lies unequivocally within our control versus what lies entirely outside of it. You possess absolute control over your own words, your own thoughts, and your own intentions when you speak. However, you exert absolutely no control over how others choose to interpret those words, what conclusions they draw from the information you provide, or what they ultimately choose to do with that intensely personal information. When you confess a personal vice, recount a moment of profound weakness, or reveal a deep, gnawing insecurity to someone whose character you have not thoroughly and patiently assessed, someone whose integrity, discretion, and goodwill remain unproven, you are, in essence, placing an immense, undue trust in an uncontrollable, unpredictable variable, another person's unpredictable nature. The psychological mechanism here is deceptively simple and dangerously effective. You willingly create a profound vulnerability in yourself. A manipulative or ill-intentioned person will not offer genuine empathy. Instead, they will meticulously store that information away, perhaps to subtly or overtly use it later to gain an advantage over you, to discredit your character, to damage your reputation, or simply to fuel malicious gossip. Even those who are not overtly malicious might simply lack the inherent wisdom, the necessary discretion, or the emotional maturity to handle such sensitive information responsibly, leading to unintended exposure, profound embarrassment, or severe reputational damage. Guarding these intensely personal aspects of yourself, especially from those whose integrity is not yet proven beyond doubt, is not about being guarded or insincere in a cynical way. It is, fundamentally, about rigorous self-preservation and the wise, judicious management of your personal and emotional boundaries. It is, in its highest form, an act of profound respect for your own inner peace, your personal power, and your unshakable autonomy. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier, plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple: will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. The wisdom of guarding certain specific aspects of your life from public view is powerfully and timelessly illustrated by a unique historical Stoic example. The private writings of Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed Roman emperor and profound Stoic philosopher. His monumental work, the Meditations, was never, ever intended for public consumption or a wide audience. They were not crafted as political memoirs, nor as philosophical treatises meant for formal publication. nor as grand declarations or edicts to his vast array of subjects. Instead, they were intensely personal reflections, a silent, ongoing dialogue with himself, a series of deeply intimate notes he meticulously took to guide his own conduct, to consistently remind himself of core Stoic principles, and to rigorously steel his mind against the myriad, overwhelming pressures and incessant demands of leading the most powerful empire of his time. Imagine the immense power Marcus wielded, the constant, unforgiving scrutiny he faced from every corner of the empire, the endless demands on his attention, his judgment, and his very soul. Yet, amidst all this relentless external chaos and pressure, he deliberately cultivated a profound inner sanctuary, a sacred space where his most vulnerable thoughts, his deepest doubts, and his highest aspirations could be processed, examined, and refined without the distorting, often corrupting, lens of public opinion, political expediency, or the need for external approval. He did not broadcast his daily struggles with patience, his profound frustrations with foolish or malicious men, or his personal anxieties about the immense responsibility of governing such a vast and complex empire. These were his private battles, fought, reasoned through, and ultimately resolved within the impenetrable confines of his own formidable mind. Had Marcus chosen to reveal these intensely private reflections to his imperial court or to the general public during his lifetime, their impact and reception would have been entirely different and almost certainly detrimental. They would have been meticulously analyzed, harshly criticized, shrewdly used against him by cunning political rivals, or perhaps dismissed as signs of weakness by his hardened soldiers. But by keeping them profoundly private, by engaging in a solitary, rigorous practice of philosophical self-reflection and continuous self-correction, he preserved his unassailable authority, maintained his precious inner tranquility, ataraxia, and ultimately refined his character without any external interference or dilution. His exceptional example teaches us a powerful lesson. Protecting your inner world, your true thoughts, your genuine feelings, your core values, especially regarding aspects like your personal wealth or the extent of your possessions, from the casual gaze or envious scrutiny of others, is not about cynicism or mere secrecy. It is fundamentally about astute self-preservation and the cultivation of genuine relationships. Revealing your exact financial status, the precise extent of your material possessions, or the details of your personal advantages often attracts not genuine connection, but rather envy, resentment, or the insidious presence of false friends who are drawn solely to your resources rather than to your intrinsic character. This creates unnecessary burdens, obligations, and superficial relationships that genuine Stoics would wholeheartedly shun. Just as Marcus meticulously guarded his inner reflections to maintain his integrity, we too must guard our external advantages and resources from unnecessary exposure, allowing us the freedom to cultivate truly genuine connections, to act from pure motives, and to maintain our invaluable inner peace, without the complications of external covetousness or misjudgment. This profound principle of guardedness extends seamlessly to how we wisely handle interpersonal conflicts and disagreements. Building rigorously upon the profound wisdom of guardedness, let us now turn our attention to a highly practical and often overlooked Stoic exercise concerning personal arguments and unavoidable disagreements, the disciplined adoption of the closed-door policy. We, in our modern impulse for immediate gratification and validation, frequently make the grave mistake of immediately broadcasting private disputes, whether they arise with cherished family members, close friends, or professional colleagues, to a wider, often unconcerned audience. This common error can manifest in various ways: venting heatedly to a third party who has no stake in the outcome, sharing intimate and often biased details online through social media, or even actively seeking allies by recounting one-sided, emotionally charged accounts of a conflict. This pervasive practice, while it may offer a fleeting sense of catharsis or temporary relief, rarely, if ever, genuinely resolves the initial issue at hand and almost invariably escalates the emotional temperature, complicates the dynamics, and extends the lifespan of the underlying situation. The practical exercise rooted in Stoic discretion is this: when a personal disagreement or argument inevitably arises, especially one that is still raw, emotionally charged, and unresolved, consciously choose to keep it strictly, unequivocally, between the directly involved parties. For a specific predetermined period, let us say the next 24 hours, commit with absolute resolve to not discussing the details of the conflict with anyone else outside of the immediate participants. This means rigorously refraining from complaining, from seeking unearned sympathy, or from recounting your particular side of the story to external listeners, no matter how tempting the urge might be. Instead, during this crucial period, direct your energy and focus entirely towards internal processing, calmly reflecting on your own role, your reactions, and your preferred outcomes, and, when appropriate and conducive, towards direct, constructive communication with the person involved. This closed-door policy serves several critical Stoic purposes, each designed to foster greater inner peace and more effective conduct. First, it powerfully prevents the immediate, often detrimental, externalization of a private matter which, as we've meticulously discussed, almost always invites a host of unsolicited opinions, unhelpful judgments, and extraneous advice that can profoundly muddy the waters and complicate resolution. Seneca, a master of emotional regulation, famously advised us to be slow to anger and to always pause significantly before reacting impulsively. This invaluable pause, this moment of reflection, applies not only to our immediate, visceral response to the argument itself, but crucially also to our subsequent actions and decisions, including the vital choice of who we confide in. Second, this policy compels you to assume full personal responsibility for effectively managing and, ideally, resolving the conflict. Rather than passively relying on external validation or the often unreliable intervention of third parties, you are actively forced to engage with the issue directly, either by calmly and rationally reflecting on your own thoughts and actions, or by initiating a mature, constructive conversation with the other person. Third, and equally important, it rigorously protects the reputation, dignity, and privacy of all parties involved, including, critically, the very person with whom you are disagreeing. Spreading the intimate details of a private argument, even if you feel entirely justified in your actions, inexorably undermines trust, erodes respect, and can create lasting animosity and irreparable damage to relationships. By consistently practicing this closed-door policy, you diligently cultivate virtues like discretion, prudence, and self-control. You powerfully foster direct, honest resolution, and you steadfastly maintain a higher, more consistent level of personal integrity. This disciplined approach to strategic silence isn't just about skillfully managing conflict. It is about a profound, transformative shift in your very identity. We have now meticulously explored the perils inherent in prematurely revealing your deepest fears, your ambitious plans, your virtuous good deeds, your intimate weaknesses, your personal possessions, and your private arguments. Each distinct insight has illuminated a different, yet interconnected facet of why strategic silence is not merely a clever tactical maneuver, but rather a profound and transformative way of life, deeply rooted in timeless Stoic principles. The cumulative, synergistic effect of consciously embracing and consistently practicing these disciplines is nothing less than a fundamental identity transformation. A metamorphosis from a reactive, externally driven individual, constantly swayed by the winds of public opinion, into a truly self-possessed, internally guided master of their own inner domain. Take a moment to vividly imagine the person you once were, perhaps quick to share every nascent ambition, every fleeting triumph, every gnawing insecurity, every minor grievance or perceived slight. In that previous state, your very sense of self, your fragile identity, was constantly at the mercy of others' perceptions, their judgments, and their often unpredictable reactions. Now, envision with clarity the transformed individual you are becoming. This person moves through the world with an undeniable, quiet confidence, their intentions and next steps often unannounced, their good deeds, their own profound reward, their inherent weaknesses diligently fortified through consistent, silent self-improvement, their private life, an impregnable, well-guarded sanctuary. This is not a person who merely hides from the world in fear or deceit. This is a person who chooses with discerning wisdom what to reveal, when precisely to reveal it, and to whom, exercising a deliberate mastery over their own narrative. This profound mastery over revelation allows you to maintain your unshakable inner peace, your ataraxia, regardless of the external chaos, noise, or distractions that inevitably surround you. You become incrementally less susceptible to the empty promises of flattery. immeasurably less vulnerable to the sting of unfair criticism, and significantly less distracted by the superficial opinions of others, which you recognize as external and therefore beyond your true control. The final culminating revelation to guard, which beautifully connects and synthesizes all these previous lessons, is your personal opinions on controversial topics unnecessarily. In an age characterized by incessant debate, polarized views, and the relentless pressure to take a public stance on every contentious issue, to offer your unfiltered, unreserved opinion on every single point of disagreement is to actively invite unproductive conflict, to be prematurely labeled and pigeonholed, and to become unnecessarily embroiled in arguments that, from a Stoic perspective, serve absolutely no constructive purpose whatsoever. The transformed individual, the self-mastered Stoic, recognizes that true strength resides not in volume or ubiquity of opinion, but in profound discernment, knowing precisely when to speak with purpose and impact, and, perhaps even more critically, when to remain in dignified, strategic silence. It is fundamentally about preserving your invaluable mental tranquility and husbanding your influence for those rare occasions when it truly matters, when your words can genuinely affect positive change, or when an injustice demands your voice. Epictetus often spoke of attending diligently to your inner citadel, diligently protecting it from external disturbances and internal chaos. By selectively and judiciously guarding your opinions, by choosing your battles wisely, you actively protect this inner citadel from the endless, often futile, and emotionally exhausting skirmishes of public discourse. This entire journey, this ongoing practice of strategic silence, is ultimately about building an unshakable inner core, a foundation of self-mastery and profound resilience that cannot be swayed, undermined, or broken by any external force or circumstance. It is about deeply understanding, at a visceral level, that true, enduring power resides not in what you loudly proclaim for all to hear, but in what you quietly, consistently, and diligently cultivate within the silent, sacred depths of your own being. This newly forged identity, meticulously built on deliberate silence, profound self-awareness, and unyielding internal strength, becomes your greatest, most enduring asset. What is one specific thing you've learned today that you will consciously choose not to reveal in the coming week? Share your intention in the comments below. Like this video if it resonated deeply with you, and please subscribe for more timeless, Stoic wisdom that can transform your life. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exquisite bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple: will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today.